Donald Trump did exactly what he said he was going to do. He pulled the United States out of the multilateral treaty on climate change, also known as the Paris Agreement.
My solemn duty to protect America and its citizens. The United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord. Thus, as of today, the United States will cease all implementation of the non-binding Paris Accord and the draconian financial and economic burdens the agreement imposes on our country.
Now, regardless of your opinion of Trump, whether you love him or hate him, there's no denying that Trump stood up to global elites and he stood up for American interests. Trump did the right thing for American workers, and perhaps counterintuitively, he also did the right thing for the environment. Let's be clear, the Paris Agreement was never about the environment. The entire scheme was primarily focused on creating a political consensus around so-called climate action. It wasn't about innovation, scientific measurement, or even an absolute reduction in global greenhouse gas emissions. The non-binding global accord, written by European bureaucrats behind closed doors and away from the people and industries it affected, it sought a top-down approach and a selective reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. So each of the 148 countries that have ratified the agreement were free to determine their own goals, and there was never any mechanism to actually enforce these goals and targets. The framework for Paris is based on an alarmist interpretation of climate data and focuses not on the largest emitters of carbon dioxide, but instead on the richest emitters. The scheme uses an invented concept, carbon intensity, meaning carbon emissions as a percentage of GDP. It therefore disproportionately punishes wealthy emitters like Canada and the United States, while allowing countries like China and India to continue emitting more carbon dioxide each year until at least 2030, the year that those countries chose for their commitment to kick in. The Paris Agreement is nothing more than a lofty and symbolic United Nations initiative, one that facilitates smug liberal virtue signaling, big government intervention into the economy, and a socialist redistribution of wealth. It encourages hysteria and justifies greater government control over our lives. The agreement would make rich countries poor through punishing regulations and higher taxes, while providing handouts and freebies to developing countries, often with little or no plan whatsoever for the environment. Far from saving the planet, the Paris Plan rewards corrupt government officials presiding over dysfunctional economies, while punishing hardworking taxpayers in free, fair, and prosperous societies. And besides, watching world leaders and Hollywood celebrities fly in and out of Paris on private jets, seeing idling motorcades and gas-guzzling SUVs fill the vast parking lots at these global climate conferences, average people can be forgiven for dismissing the entire initiative as a hypocritical farce. Despite the utopian hype surrounding Paris, these big government schemes will have an adverse impact on the global environment. When governments meddle in the economy, when they destroy wealth, when they choose winners and losers and decide which industries are going to be successful, they prevent innovative companies and creative individuals from finding real solutions to tough environmental problems. And in the meantime, they needlessly hurt blue-collar workers and they punish middle-class taxpayers in the developed world, much like Justin Trudeau wanted to do in Canada. So despite being praised by elites worldwide, the scheme only ever amounted to the celebration of a leftist ideology that is both anti-West and anti-development. Trump rightfully acknowledged the scheme would specifically and disproportionately punish the United States. It was always a bad deal for American workers and for American industry. Good for Donald Trump for standing up to this nonsense.